we dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The Lord is speaking about both the gift, the blessing, and the curse. To some people he will bless, to some people he will curse. And that is why that even in the dreams, you find that your dreams could be a blessing, a message of a blessing, a warning of a blessing, or a warning of a curse that will come to you. So it's very important for us to look at that. And then, if we see this particular place, is also what was recited in the book of Acts of Apostles. If you go in the book of chapter 2 and read from verse 17 to 21, you will see during the days of the Pentecost when the Holy Spirit comes, that this particular passage from Joel being recited where Peter addressed the people who were confused about what they see. The Lord provided us an example which you can also read some more. If you read in the book of Genesis from chapter 37 to chapter 40, chapter 37 to 40, about the story of Joseph, you can also see how God transformed Joseph's life, the family's life, and the Israel's life through Joseph. And it started by a dream. And it started by a dream that Joseph heard in a family of a father and a mother and 12 children. Of course, you already know who those children are. That makes up the 12 tribes of Israel. But in a dream, and I want to explain it for you to understand. Most of the time, people always look forward to a sweet dream. We talk about sweet dream, as if sweet dream is all what is going to be, and as if life is always going to be sweet. But also, it's a way for you to see that in the history and life of Joseph, that it wasn't a sweet dream. The dream itself looked sweet. Because as you see when you look at that, oh, does it mean that the Lord is going to make you Lord over us? No, the Lord is going to make him so that they can worship and we're going to turn around and serve you, and etc. So for him, it looks so sweet. But what happened if you read those chapters, you can also see how his brother sold him into slavery, and then he has to suffer. So that even though the dream is sweet, does not mean that in order for that sweetness to come, that you're not going to suffer before then. So when you have your dream, when you go through some trials and tribulations, do not lose faith or have disbelief. As you see, we read in the book of James, chapter 1, what happens from verse 2, what happens to those who are unbelief, those that stop believing, those that don't have faith. He said, you will not receive. So when you're going through your suffering, that moment of trials and tribulation is very important for you to understand that that might be what is required to prepare you for the blessing that the Lord has revealed to you in the dream. But in that dream, it wasn't revealed to you that it was going to be that sweet and you're just going to jump and climb into it. The Lord himself, in the revelation that he sent it to you through a dream, may be revealing to you something that is of great value, of a blessing unto you, and by hearing and by that proclamation, the devil might decide to set a stage, so that he creates the trials, the tribulations, and the obstacles, so that you lose faith, so that you disbelieve. And when you disbelieve and you lose faith, then your dream will not come true. So you can become a dreamer. And as you should be, because everyone is a dreamer, because God has made that promise, as we see in what we read, that God has made that promise to you, and as a believer, you are a dreamer. So you hold on to that dream, but do not let the trials and the tribulations that come after that stop you from realizing that dream. That is the very important message that we want to recite or understand today. As we have been shown today, that even though that in the suffering that Joseph himself had to go through, in the dream that was made and revealed unto him, he persevered and he continued to stay to the course. Just as the book of James chapter 1 from verse 2 asks us to do. The Lord himself has given you a lot of gifts that will help you to be able to survive and sustain any tribulations and any trials and any struggle, any barrier and any obstacle the devil have laid in your path in order to steal or make you deprive you the dream that you have. Galatians in chapter 5 from verse 22 to 25. If you read that, you will see the gift, the fruit of the Spirit. Because by your believing, by you being a believer, you have become that tree that was planted on the side and the bank of the river, that is supplied by the water. Because life comes through the water that nourishes the plant to grow to bear fruit. And that fruit is what you need and what is going to help you in order to overcome that. Then you also need to understand too, from the message that we read, and again, in the context of Genesis chapters 37 and 40 about the life of Joseph, you will see that there is a need for you to have the wisdom. The trials that we're talking about, which the devil laid in your path, trying to steal your dream that the Lord has given unto you, means that you need to stay the course. You need to be able to be sure and be certain of that particular dream. That's why the use of the spirit of discernment is very important, to understand and believe and have faith that the word has asked you to do today. Because if you don't, you will not be able to receive. In this passage, you see how the wife of Potiphar, can you imagine that the dream that happens, that even though Joseph was in prison, the king had a dream, and the only person that was going to interpret that dream became Joseph. This was not revealed in the original dream that was given to Joseph. But God has created another situation that has made Joseph relevant, even though he was a prisoner. From there, he has interpreted the dreams of one of the servants of the king. And now, when the king had his own dream that troubled him and didn't know, nobody could be able to interpret it, then God made Joseph relevant again